Chapter 16. The road to Callagan. The next day dawned cloudy, the air humid with coming rain. The tribe, along with Ladiel, Nahim, Aelist and a few Biolans, stood at the edge of the encampment to see Merlara and her friends off. The tribe had given them 9 horses. 8 for riding, 1 for supplies. All of them were mustangs, strong and swift. The horses were calm in Aelist and Aaron's presence, thanks to Aelist's ability to dispel their fear with a single glance. Her gift was one of the reasons Orga had sent her and Aaron to help Merlara, along with the fact that they were among the youngest Dunarians. Since many of the dragons who had been in Tel Amevi were still alive, Orga wished to keep them and himself hidden from Tokelway until Merlara reached Callagan. Merlara, Kahira, Terrell, and Seldrian were dressed in deerskin shirts and leggings. Terrell wore her chainmail under her shirt. Tyor wore the same tunic and leggings he wore the night of the escape. Sumaisai's brothers wore their usual hunting garb, their quivers replenished with Tyorian arrows the Silge had acquired through trade. Merlara and Seldrian also had a bow and arrows, while Kahira, Tyor, and Terrell had their swords. Terrell wore her chainmail under her shirt. Tyor had one also, but insisted Merlara wear it. After a long argument she consented, though she felt Tyor needed it more, since if they were attacked he would consider it his duty to put himself in danger to protect her. Haunted by these thoughts as they stood waiting for Kahira, who was speaking with Liseo and Amazua, she tested the string on her bow. To her surprise, it was thicker and more resistant than the ones Tyrians used. She pulled an arrow from her quiver. It was made of a stronger wood than Tyorian arrows. She looked at Seldrian. These bows and arrows are different from ours. Many of our people are of Silge race, and they're as familiar with these as I am. That's because your people don't have to bring down game like bison, Seldrian replied. Though we sometimes use them for smaller game like elk or pronghorn antelope, they aren't used for much else. Tyorian bows are used for other animals. Of course, one advantage you have over us is your skill with the carry. Most of us have never even seen one, and none of the tribes have ever possessed any. That will have to change if we're to survive, said Tyor. The carry is the only weapon the Seldrian fear. Merlara glanced at Aaron and Aelist. That's not entirely true. The real danger is how the Seldrian will react, when they realize their greatest fear is returning with a vengeance. Sumaisai stood impatiently by her brothers. She was the only one eager to be gone. Though she cared for her adopted parents, her desire to see her native land outweighed any conflicted feelings she had about leaving them. Her brothers, however, were moody and silent, thinking of how the coming war would affect them. The eagles had agreed to inform them of their journey, and to deliver messages of farewell, along with warnings on what to expect in the coming months. Remember, Amazua said when they had gathered, follow the stream to the Regoni River. Continue along it until you reach the River Guardian's territory. They are expecting you. You will use the extra food in your packs to trade for travel rations, and they will tell you how to conduct yourselves through their territory. Though Seldrian's presence should dispel any doubts they have about you. Your knowledge of our customs is necessary, if you are to pass through the wild lands as soon as possible. They've all been deemed trustworthy, but be on your guard for suspicious behavior among the tribes and packs, especially the most unlikely ones. Spies always hide in the most unlikely places. Don't we know it? Sumaisai muttered. Merlara and Tyor exchanged glances, but said nothing. Seldrian took a tearful farewell of her parents. Her mother shed many tears, but her father simply looked grave as he embraced her. For only the 3rd time in her life, Merlara saw Ladiel shed tears. The last 2 times had been when her parents died. She made no attempt to hide her own emotions as she embraced her and Nahim. In spite of their optimism, she felt their goodbyes were their last. Though Tyor wasn't emotional, Merlara could see he was affected by their parting. Like Merlara, they had always treated him like family. Sumaisai and her brothers weren't forgotten. Nahim and Ladiel were attentive in their farewells, thanking and commending them for their part in protecting Merlara, and promising to bring their parents to Callagan. Merlara and Tyor were surprised to see Tyor and Ladiel embrace, Nahim whispering something in her ear. Whatever flaws Tyor had, she apparently wasn't as cold and distant as she appeared. As a last token of farewell, Ladiel insisted Merlara take her lugari, the pendant given to all Tyorrian warriors, as she had lost hers the night of the rebellion. At last they all mounted their horses, Vasiri leading the 9th. The horses broke into a trot, Sumaisai keeping pace beside them. Aelist and Aaron took flight, calling to each other in deep mournful tones. Merlara's throat constricted at the sound, fresh tears filling her eyes. Storm clouds gathered on the horizon as the company made their way toward the Regon River, Sail Soa and Kahira in the lead. Above them Aaron could be seen, a mere speck seeming to float in the sky. Hills began to rise up around them, helping to block the strong wind coming from the south. Occasionally they came upon herds of elk or bison, who scattered at their approach. When they stopped to rest by a stream, letting the horses drink and refilling their casks, Aaron landed beside them, the ground shaking as he hit the ground. "Couldn't you land more softly?" Lestri asked. "It startled the horses and almost knocked us over." "The wind is strong," Aaron said. "I'm afraid I'll have to travel with you on foot for a time. We should find shelter soon, before the storm hits." "Well then, it's a good thing we're traveling over grasslands," Sail Soa said. "The last thing we need is for Turiel's spies to find our tracks. They might not need to see tracks to know we were here." Tyor reminded her. "For now there's no danger, since the rain will wash away our scent. But if Turiel sends spies to specifically look for us, they may use bloodhounds, which will put us at higher risk." "I'd love for them to challenge me," Sumaisai said, baring her teeth. "I've never eaten a dog, but I'm sure their meat is nourishing enough. Even if not particularly appetizing." Merlara looked at her in disgust. Her confusion only increased when her brothers laughed. "Why is that so amusing?" "It wasn't meant to be. I was simply making a statement," Sumaisai answered. "What's the matter? Have you ever owned a dog?" "No, but I confess I don't like the idea of you eating one." Sumaisai sniffed. "You humans are so sentimental. Why does it matter whether I eat a dog or a rabbit? They'll both die regardless." "That's enough of that," Sail Soa said sternly. "We must move on, unless you want to be caught in the open when the storm reaches us. There is cave not far from here." "Agreed," Kahira said as she mounted. "Speed is imperative. I fear it will only become more urgent as we travel." "I don't wish to encourage Sumaisai's unruly behavior," Aaron said as they resumed their journey. "But she makes a valid point." Merlara smiled in spite of her annoyance. "That's hardly fair, Aaron. You're a dragon, of course eating a dog would be nothing extraordinary." "Perhaps, but you and I are kin. I don't think it would be so unpleasant as you think." "Well, when you're living in the wild, meat is meat," Vasiri said. "Not that my family has ever eaten dog, but if we were starving, none of us would turn it down." "Why exactly are we talking about this?" Terrell asked. "Because," Kunusk answered, "we're traveling with a dragon and a tokwai. We're bound to have many strange conversations before our journey is over." "Speaking of strange conversations," Merlara said, "I've been wanting to talk with my aunt about the nature of my gifts." She looked at Kahira quizzically. Being in Callagan and the wildlands for so long, must mean you were free to discover your gifts. That's true. But even after I left, I was too distracted with my journey to Callagan to reflect on my abilities. Once I reached Callagan and began my training, my gifts began to reveal themselves. I didn't have to look for them. The physical and mental training flushed them out. Sumaisai looked at her intently. Do your gifts have anything to do with how you age? Yes, though I'm afraid I can't tell you more just yet. At the moment, we have more pressing things to consider. Merlara felt sick. Is that what happened to me? Did the shock of Toriel's betrayal, my flight here, and learning I'm Aodhnait flush out my gift to feel a dragon's emotions? Yes, Aaron said before Kahira could respond. But that's only partially connected to the fact you were unable to pursue it in Tyor. As you learned when you shared my vision, I wasn't aware I could see into the future until that moment. Aelist has known of her gift to control animals and humans for 10 years now. Not all dragons discover their gifts early. Those with access to their gifts have more responsibility than those who haven't. Though this is done out of necessity, not favoritism, I've envied Aelist for her position with King Orga. Aaron stopped walking, looking into the distance. Everyone looked at him with surprise and some anxiety. The storm had almost caught up with them. They couldn't afford to linger. Now I understand, Aaron said softly. Why she so often said to me, be careful what you wish for. While I have a sense of purpose I've never known, my knowledge of my gift comes with a responsibility to not only use and protect it, but to use it to benefit those around me. There are many creatures, not just humans, who will suffer if I don't use my gift responsibly. That is no small matter, even for a dragon. Aelist was telling me to enjoy my innocence. Now I wish I had. Well, considering our present course, you won't have too much trouble discovering your mission, Kahira said. As long as the Seldrian are distracted, you won't have opposition where we're going. Not that it matters, Sumaisai said, since my presence is putting us at risk anyway. The tribes won't have a problem with me, but the packs will, no matter what Amazua says. That may be, Sail Soa agreed, but they know what's at stake. They may not trust you Sumaisai, and I confess they are somewhat suspicious of you, Merlara. But they'll trust me, Kahira, Aaron, and Tyor the most. Our presence protects the rest of you. So they don't trust me and my brothers, because Sumaisai is our sister. Lustri asked. I'm afraid they will see that as a bad sign. But not, I think, as an extreme threat. War with both Tyor and the Seldrian is upon us. They won't have time to cause trouble. Hopefully, Kahira muttered. Only Sumaisai, Merlara, and Aaron heard her, but they knew better than to comment on it.